Hey everybody, we are in the epicenter, the heartbeat, the bosom, if you will, of everything hip and happening. And of course I'm talking about Nashville, Tennessee, with one of, if not the fastest rising stars in music today. And of course I'm talking about Mr. Jeff Coffey. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good, man.
You know, I realize when I'm saying this, if most people are watching this through your Facebook live stream, they already know that we're talking with Jeff Coffey. But in case we have anybody flipping the dials and they just happen to fall on this live stream, this is indeed.
I enjoyed that whole spiel.
Jeff Coffey. It was a good spiel. Good. As I said, we're in Nashville on location at the set of Jeff's most recent music video, brand new or soon to be brand new music video, Back on My Feet Again. And this has been a heavily promoted and marketed endeavor. This is this is going to be in conjunction with the release of his single. A lot of his fans know about it, and as you know, a lot of people have been writing in about this, and they have been expressing concern that there has been an accident or there's been something that's precipitated this song, like a broken leg or femur. And so perhaps this was an expression of a literal expression of something bad that you've gone through physically that you've overcome. But I can tell that's not the case.
No, not at all. No, it's just a really inspirational song. Well, I mean, it's just one of my favorite songs by one of my favorite artists and favorite singers. So, you guys remember the Babies and John Waite. So, but yeah, we wanted to make it an interactive and inspirational video and do it in conjunction and together with some of the people out there, some of the fans. So we're excited about it.
So you're not physically hurt?
I am not physically hurt.
Okay, folks.
Not at this moment. I have been physically hurt.
Well, this is good for you to know because this happens sometimes. There's fake news out there, so we got to be careful about that. So Jeff is okay. Look, Jeff is in perfect physical form, and matter of fact, as I say that to you, if I can say it without, don't take this wrong way, I can just see the muscles bulging out of your shirt.
Nice.
Do you work out, or is this some effort to intimidate your audience?
I worked out especially for you before I came here tonight because I wanted to impress you.
Okay, well that's what.
Because I know you like.
There's a fine line between impress and intimidating.
Right.
I'm clearly intimidated right now at this moment. So how was the video going? How's the video shoot? You're doing that today?
Yeah, it's great. We got some great stuff. It was a great location. We had some afternoon light coming into this warehouse place that used to be an old train junction spot or something like that, and really cool lighting. Love the stuff we got. So excited to see how this turns out.
And who is your video director? Who are you working with? It's Randy Schaefer, right?
That's Randy Schaefer.
Randy Schaefer.
And he's also the guy that just did my recent new photo shoot. A lot of photos that people have seen out there.
That's fantastic.
So he's really talented.
He is. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of pedigree under his belt.
Yes. That's right.
Why would I say under his belt? I don't know why, but
so
this is the first of what will be a successive number of videos that's related to the new record that's coming out, perhaps.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and it's a new. Basically, it's a tribute record, one that I put together of some of my favorite songs by some of my favorite tenor singers that inspired me to want to become a musician. So, this is the first single off of that record. So.
Back on My Feet Again. As you say, this is John Waite and the Babies, the 1980 hit.
That's right.
Now, of course, John Waite was in the Babies with Jonathan Cain. Now, John Waite went on from there to had a solo
career.
Hit. What was it?
Yeah.
It was
Missing You.
Missing You for 84. Jonathan Cain went to Journey. Is that correct? That's right. And then they got back together.
Bad English
with
awesome band
with the Jack Blades and Ted Nugent and
that was Damn Yankees. That was a different band.
That was Damn. Oh,
yeah.
Damn Yankees. Okay. Well,
but it was the bass player from the Babies who was in that band.
It is a tangle.
And now it was Dean Castronova who then also joined Journey. So it's
that's fantastic. So can you give us a hint of what may be another single coming out, or what would be the next video?
Well, we haven't really picked the next single yet, but we're just in mix mode here in town. We're mixing 3 of the singles while I'm here in town, and we recorded 4 new ones. And so we just haven't picked the next one yet. We're kind of motor through this one and get this out for everybody. And,
now, who is producing these?
Rex Schnelly. We're in the studio with
fantastic.
Rex, and he's just knocking out of the park. And we're going to also be working with some other producers, Michael Lamardian on some tunes.
Michael Lamardian.
Yes.
The guy from Steely Dan and who?
Christopher Cross.
Christopher Cross produced Sailing, right?
You name it. I mean,
Peter Cetera.
Guy had more hits in more decades than anyone else.
What are you doing with Michael Lamardian?
Well, it's kind of a know, a little bit of a secret, I would say, which tunes we're going to do.
That's okay.
But
you don't
trust
need to
me,
say.
it's going to be.
I figured you say Michael Lamardian, you could spill the song, but if not,
no,
we won't do it.
Keep that under wraps.
Michael Lamardian, he's been in Nashville for a long time, and I was just about to ask you why Nashville, but I will just take that opportunity to say how people obviously associate Nashville with all the great country that's happening. That's known
There's
for.
so much happening here now.
But it's called Music City USA, and it's really because it's not just because of country, but so many other types of music, and there's so many people from rock and roll and pop and all these different types of non-country genres that have come to Nashville and doing great things. Alice Cooper's done his latest record here. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And Bob Ezrin, his producer, who also produced Kiss, all this. It's just happening in Nashville. What attracted you personally to Nashville?
Well, I had some experience here in Nashville before because the band that I was in back in the it was mid to late '90s, band called House of Dreams. We came up here. We had our management was based out of here, so we spent a lot of time in Nashville.
I see.
And so I got real familiar with the town, and then I went back home and did a solo career, put out a couple records, and then I just took some time off. And then about 4 years, I didn't play a note, and then I missed it. I missed music really badly. So then when I started getting back into it, I started coming up here to Nashville because a really good longtime friend of mine, longtime musician, bandmate, high school friend of mine, Tom Hurst, had been living here.
From the drummer jams,
yes,
right?
Yes, he did. He started doing loud jams and the Nashville drummer jams.
Fantastic. Tell everybody what that is.
Yeah, well, it's great. I mean, it was just this really great community of musicians that Tom had developed with bringing all of these A-list musicians coming. Guys had big touring gigs. They would come and play, and it'd be like one night, Monday night, where everybody's in town, no one is on the road, or most of the guys. And you get together and play tunes that you didn't normally get to play in the various cover bands that you may have, been doing when you were younger. And so it just...
And then they would have the drummer jams. It didn't happen as often. And they would take a classic drummer, and do all the songs.
That's right. From that drummer, if he was in a really popular band or the various other studio projects. Yeah, and that was a great benefit concert that was raised money for various charities. And
now, did you sing at the one that you heard? The big one was when Eddie Van Halen brought his drum set.
I was there for that.
You were there for that. So Eddie Van Halen,
so awesome.
These drummer jams, don't have the actual drummer. But did I say Eddie Van Halen?
Yeah,
I mean Alex Van Halen.
Alex Van,
That'll be. Hey, the big one was when Alex Van Halen had his drums shipped up, and it was the full complement.
Oh yeah.
With the gong up to the exit in. Wasn't it the exit in?
Yeah, it was the exit in. It took 2 drum risers to fit this drum kit on the stage.
Phenomenal.
But that was a great night, and raised a lot of money for that. And that's another thing that Tom Hurst and David Parks, those guys put this drummer jam together, and it's just a really great thing. And that's how I got to meet a lot of musicians.
It was the cream of the crop.
It was the cream of the crop in town, and I got to really socialize and get to know a lot of the great guys in town. And it was all thanks to my good friend Tom Hurst for inviting me up here.
And this is a personal point, because when I met you, I was at one of the not drummer jams, but I was at one of the loud jams, and where they were featuring the music of Jellyfish. And I don't know how many people will recognize that band, but it was a phenomenal power pop band. And that was the only reason I was there. And Jeff, this blonde kid, was just singing his off, and it was. The thing, one thing I realized about Nashville is it is packed with great musicians and singers, but typically the musicians outshine the singers, and you just don't have a lot of singers typically that have that kind of range. And when you were hitting those notes, it was like, who is this guy? But then you were not only the featured music was not just Jellyfish, but it was also a little bit of Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh, yeah.
And then you leave the mic and you put on a bass guitar and you're doing all this Verdine White stuff, and it's like, what is this cat? So I remember after that show, I went and made a beeline to you saying, oh God, please be available.
That's when we
met. And then you said you were from Florida. It was like it was just phenomenal. That was the first time I had certainly not sampled the great music and the great musicians of Nashville, but been at that specific thing where it's just the confluence of just phenomenal musicians. So from that, you were just networking, but you were also writing. You were writing with Stan Lynch at some point. How did that connect?
I was writing with Stan Lynch from.
Now this is from the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, yeah, and.
But he also left them to become a writer and producer, primarily with Don Henley.
Don Henley.
Yeah,
he had some great success with Don Henley. He wrote and co-wrote a bunch of tunes with Toto off the Tamboo record. I mean, he's had some great success as a writer and producer. He's just extremely all-around talented musician.
So how did you get the hook up with him?
I had met him briefly in the last band, House of Dreams. We did some sessions with him, wrote some songs, and recorded some songs with him. And then years went by, and then my good friend Jack Sizemore, who played guitar in House of Dreams, who plays with Jason Aldean now for years. Jack and I got together with Stan, and we started writing some songs, a bunch of songs, and it was like straight up rock and roll. It was a lot of fun. So that was a great experience.
So it sounds like all the guys except you in House of Dreams moved to Nashville.
Yeah, I never made the move.
So you had a deal. You had a deal with backing up just a little bit. You had a deal with this band.
Yeah,
was it on a major label?
Yeah, it was RCA Records.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah,
RCA, and so you do a record?
We did a record with Keith Olsen out in LA.
Keith Olsen.
Yeah, Keith.
Fleetwood Mac, right?
Yeah, Fleetwood Mac. Ozzy, Rick Springfield. He used to work at Sound City, and he'd done a lot of this. He did the Whitesnake, the big Whitesnake record, and a lot of people, So it was a cool experience. But from one sob story to the next. So they shelved the record, and we never got released, and
that's when you left the business. No, you didn't leave the business.
No, I decided to then just start pursuing my own stuff at home, and I got settled down, got married.
What year are we talking about?
This is 2000.
2000.
This is the year 2000 when I finally I left House of Dreams, and I went home, and I started putting together new songs for my solo project, and I put out, within that next 7-year span, I put out a couple of solo records and had a band and played, in various clubs and venues in Florida and some festivals and things like that.
Yeah, then you got some TV placement. Is that
right?
Right?
Yeah. I had a song that was on a primetime TV show in the 90s. It was starring Anne Heche. No, it wasn't the 90s. It was early 2000s.
Anne Heche.
Anne Heche, Men in Trees. It was a show called Men in Trees. Had a song on there, which was that was a nice.
That's at a time where people are getting placements in TV all the time, but that's a time where it wasn't happening that often. How did you get that connection?
It was just through one of the publishing companies that I had signed up with. Like Rumblefish and companies like that were really happening, and one of those companies they placed it.
So you did a couple of albums, and then, as you said before, you left the business. You got burned out.
I did. I got fried. I was just like, I didn't for about 4 years. I didn't want to talk about music. I didn't sing in the car. I didn't sing in the shower. I didn't listen to music. I didn't want to hear about music. I just got burnt. And then I had an invention that I brought to market and did that. I wanted to try something else, but...
Was this the Mercer coffee machine?
No, yeah, right. No, this was a little dog dicer thing. It was a hot dog slicer. It's called the Dog Dicer. You can check it out, dogdicer.com.
Now, did you make more money from that than you did from your music career?
I spent more money on that.
Okay, so...
But, then I really... Being away from it, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I realized that, it was this big, huge, gaping hole in my soul that I missed it. I always identified myself as a musician, and I knew that, I got to do this. But I knew I needed to do it on a bigger level. Yeah. I needed to go where the action was. So I started coming up here, and I had a few meetings with publishing companies, and we met, and then I connected with Tom Hurst mentioning, and he invited me to come up to these jams, and from that point, I started meeting so many guys and so many people and so many singers and musicians, and they welcomed me into this community up here, which is a great community of musicians, and that's how I eventually.
Well, we have to ask. We have to ask the obvious question: is like, why did the Beatles break up? No, I mean that's not it. So you're up here, and then you got a call, a fateful call.
I got a call from Keith Howland, the guitar player from Chicago. They were looking for someone to give Jason a little break, and they were looking for
Jason Sheff,
the
singer, who replaced Peter Cetera,
right? Right. He replaced Peter Cetera in '85, and he was there for 31 years, and he was just
longer than Peter was there, right?
Yes, long. I think Peter was there a little over 10 years, something like that. Very, very profitable 10 years.
Yes.
But yeah, and so it just from getting the opportunity to play with these guys at the jams, the loud jams and the drummer jams, and getting in front of these guys, I met John Cowan, bass player from the Doobies, fantastic. And we all know him from back in the day. Just immersing myself in this scene and getting to know the musicians is how I got the referral. With Keith started calling around. People were suggesting my name to him, and then he called a good friend of mine, Chris Nix, phenomenal guitar player in town, also who was very involved in the jams. Keith called him. He recommended me, and I don't know if he called Tom. I'm not sure if he had Tom's number, but he may. I don't think so. But then he called Ed Toth from the Doobies, and then he called me, and we talked, and I got the gig. You got the gig.
So. And you were there for basically 2 years, and it was obviously a great run, but you may have been a little bit more than you bargained for. It changed. What started, or the dynamics in the band, certainly from their activity, changed because of a couple of big things, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I guess I came in 1 month after the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, and then which really boosted their elevation and elevated their popularity, and then the documentary came out that Christmas,
right?
Also elevating so there was a lot of shows. It was a lot of shows, but there are always various reasons why you leave a certain situation, and so I'm just going to leave that at it as what it is.
Well, it sounds like maybe you were on the road a lot longer than you thought.
Well, it was a lot of shows, yeah.
Right.
It was 123 shows, something like that. So 270 days on the road. It was a lot of touring. And
so it was a great gig for you to take, but you were in Nashville trying to reinvigorate a solo career that you had to put on hold, essentially.
You pretty much have to put everything on hold.
Did you think during Chicago, well, this is a great gig, I'll do this for a little bit, maybe I can write, maybe I can just redirect my creativity?
Well, of course, I was hoping to be able to be a part of the Chicago music legacy and write some tunes and record with them, and there was even talks of it, but those talks kind of quickly diminished, and
you realize, okay, I'm not getting any younger.
Well, this isn't going to be a really
this is not progressing
creative
any further.
outlet for me,
right.
And there were other factors involved, but needless to say, it didn't work out, and it wasn't the right fit in the end for me. Musically, it was a great fit.
You're either crazy or you're brave as hell. I mean, this is what a brave thing. I'm sure a lot of people say I would never do that, but you were that same guy. But it was like if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to be serious about my solo career, I gotta leave this cush gig, and it's amazing to think about something.
Goes the clock.
I know. I think it's fantastic because it's like, who could leave something like that? But if at the same time you see that it may not be doing what it needs to do for you creatively,
right?
I think that's a fantastic thing. So you were.
I believe very strongly in surrounding yourself in a positive environment as well.
Right.
That had a lot to do with it. Okay. So, and I'm in a really good place right now.
So you basically picked up where you left off in 2017 and 2 years after.
Yeah,
16.
pretty much. Yeah, what I had to put on hold on musically, is back very vigorously now.
Now,
Yeah.
the music industry has obviously changed.
Yeah.
The opportunity of getting record deals, getting on the radio, it's not totally gone, but it's not quite the same thing. And we obviously have great tools of social and
Yeah.
internet and that kind of a thing. So, what is the sort of the game plan for you now that you're back to you in a solo artist
Right.
situation?
Well, I'm really happy with the fact that I found a great team, that guys who are supporting me. John and those guys here in Nashville are just really backing me, really behind me. We've got a game plan. In fact, this tribute record, if you will, that we're doing is part of the game plan. Not only did I want to take this time to kind of have a salute to these great artists and these great singers, but it's also a great vehicle to use social media with these songs and videos to get my voice out to people who may not even know who I am or what I've done.
Yeah,
so then when I go and release more of my solo music, more people will know who I am. So we're definitely utilizing a lot of this stuff for social media and to get it out, to get my voice kind of out to people who may not have heard of me. And so it's all.
I think that's good, because you think about how many thousands of people who saw you just in the Chicago that time. They're used to hearing you, and so maybe it seems like a very logical thing to, as a springboard from that, to present them with like songs that they're used to hearing. But the thing that is the case in social media is that when you do a cover, I know this is more of a tribute. There's a reason for doing this, but there's a lot of artists that they will do covers, and when and let's say if you were doing a Beatles cover of let's say Let It Be, and the people all over the world are looking for Let It Be by the Beatles. They're not looking for you, but they come across you, and if it's any good, they say, this is great, let me dig down into some more stuff. So it's a great way, because you're building your warm market, the people who are already your fans, but also attracting yourself. We're trying to get people that are not part of the warm market, that are finding out about you because of the coverage you're doing. So this is just brilliant.
That's precisely the plan.
And with a guy like you who has a unique ability to sing in the way you do, I think this is just fantastic, and that should be just a great jumping off point to the next phase.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to all of the next phases, and I'm very excited about where I am musically right now.
So you're doing this. You're working on records. You're working on the video. Are you playing as a solo artist?
I'm doing various shows here. I'm doing some acoustic here and there, some acoustic shows. I do actually have one coming up with a good friend of mine, Chris Rodriguez. You know Chris.
How
Rodriguez.
do you know Chris?
I knew of Chris years ago from the first time that I ever knew of him was back at Kenny Loggins' Live at the Redwoods.
Fantastic.
He played that show. It was an amazing show, and I've known of him since. And I finally had the opportunity to meet him when Tristan Bowden, who was with me in Chicago, went back to playing with Kenny Loggins, and he came to Orlando, and I got to meet Chris Rodriguez, and so we've become friends.
Chris is another Nashville guy. He was from New York, went to Miami, and it was in Nashville. He was a Belmont student. I knew him from Belmont.
Phenomenal
and he just was with Amy Grant, Michael W. Smith, did a lot of stuff in the
Keith
Christian.
Urban.
Kelly Clarkson. He has toured with so many different people. But that Kenny Loggins gig was just fantastic. Now, ironically, he also tours with who?
Yeah, he's singing now with Blood, Sweat, and Tears. He's the singer.
That's not who I'm talking about. A predecessor of yours, the former predecessor, Peter Cetera.
Oh,
I mean,
that's right. Yes.
Ironic. Is that?
Yes.
And I know for a fact that when he was with Peter Cetera, he would sing the Terry Kath part.
Right.
Of dialogue. So you see,
he's got that great warm, bluesy, soulful voice.
So you see where this is going. So when you do shows together, do you think you may bring out dialogue?
Oh, well,
Don't answer. Don't answer. By the way, tune in next. Well, this is fantastic, Jeff. I can't. It is Jeff, right?
I think. Let me check.
This is one of the coolest things I've heard of. I'm thrilled to hear that what you're doing and the path that you have taken, going to one of the biggest bands in rock and roll, and having, I'll say, the bravery, if not audacity, to follow your path is just fantastic. And the fact that you're in Nashville, where just so much is going on, I just can't wait to see what happens from that. And the thing is, in this town, in this industry, you never know what's going to happen. As long as you get it out there, you may find yourself following a path that you never knew was even
You're absolutely right. Like, I never in a million years ever thought that I would find myself on a path to be singing with Chicago. And now this new path is going to open up a lot of other doors that I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, in the future.
That's great. So. What can you tell the people if they want to, if they're watching this, they already know how to get a hold of you. But you have a website?
Yep, got the website, jeffcoffey.com. Everybody knows my Facebook, Jeff Coffey Music. So come and say hi to me. Go to my YouTube page, and we'll see you guys out there very soon.
Fantastic. Jeff Coffey, and we're out.